It has been a month since the protest in Gwadar started. What started off as just hundreds of protesters has now turned into a movement with thousands taking to the streets demanding their rights. I'm Anas Malik and reporting live from Gwadar, bringing you all the updates as WION continues to be the only international channel to report facts from ground.
Gwadar. It was once an idyllic fishing town in Pakistan. Now it is the center of protests, the biggest scene in the history of Balochistan. While Balochistan is no stranger to protests, this time the demonstrations are different. They have grown from just hundreds on the streets to hundreds of thousands fighting for their rights. The protest got so big, even Imran Khan was forced to listen. The Pakistan Prime Minister finally acknowledged the demands, promising to take up the matter with the Balochistan Chief Minister. But what exactly are the demands by the protesters? The people of Gwadar have 19 demands. This includes the demand for jobs in major projects and getting rid of humiliating checkposts. But the most important demand is the elimination of fishing trawlers. Gwadar fishermen have had to give up their fishing spots. They were told this was for the development of the port. They were promised a better economic condition. But this did not happen. In fact, their conditions worsened. Chinese fishing vessels are stripping them of their livelihood. Other demands include clean drinking water, access to electricity, and lifting of restrictions on trade with Iran. Balochistan is among the least developed regions in Pakistan. This, despite the presence of rich natural resources.
We don't want the gold from the mines. We don't want the gas. Don't humiliate us. Allow us to live with dignity.
Gwadar is the crown jewel of the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, or CPEC. Beijing is pouring in money and building infrastructure, but the people of Gwadar remain poor. China even went ahead to call the protests fake. But since this, they have made no statement. Currently, Gwadar is the embodiment of a security state. The people here are angry. For years, they have been oppressed by the Pakistani state, from disappearances to the lack of basic facilities. Islamabad has ignored Gwadar for way too long. So now the people have had enough. They are out on the streets calling for justice, dignity, and jobs. Demands that the Imran Khan government can no longer ignore. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
The movement that is named as Gwadar Ko Haq Do was launched last month. The protest is being led by Maulana Hidayatur Rahman, a local leader of the Jamaat Islami. The Jamaat Islami, which was once an ally of the Pakistani establishment, but now they don't seem to be on the same page. I spoke to Maulana Hidayatur Rahman exclusively, and he says that there will be no compromise on their demands. Mr. Maulana Hidayatur Rahman, the leader and the founder and the driving force behind the Haq Do Gwadar Ko Tehreek, or the movement behind that is seeking rights for Gwadar. Let's have a word with him. Sir, first things first, what are your main demands that are there, and is there any priority for your demands as well?
आपका बहुत शुक्रिया, आप यहाँ बलूचिस्तान की ज़मीन पे तशरीफ़ लाए और हमारी आवाज़ को पूरी दुनिया तक पहुँचा रहे हैं। हमारे तरजीहात में ट्रॉलर माफिया जो समंदरी हयातियात की नस्लकुशी कर रहे हैं, बॉर्डर माफिया है जो बॉर्डर का कारोबार है, लाखों लोग इनसे मुंसलिक हैं। इसी तरह मंशियात के अड्डे हज़ारों की तादाद में, हमारे 10 लाख नौजवान मंशियात में लथपथ हैं। और इसी तरह चेक पोस्टों में जो आवाम की तजलील है हमारी पार्टी में, اور یہ انشاءاللہ اس کے مطالبے کے لیے جب تک ان پہ گراؤنڈ پہ عمل درآمد نہیں ہوگا ہمارا احتجاج ختم نہیں ہوگا.
تو آپ کی کوئی پرائیورٹیز ہیں اس حوالے سے کہ یہ کم از کم 19 میں سے اگر یہ میٹ ہو جائیں تو پھر ہم احتجاج ختم کریں گے؟
دیکھیں ہمارے تمام مطالبات اہم ہیں. ہم 4 کا تو فوری عمل درآمد چاہتے ہیں کیونکہ ہماری عزت کا مسئلہ ہے. اگر صوبائی حکومت کہتی ہے کہ آپ 3 مہینے تک گالیاں کھاتے رہو, 3 مہینے کے بعد تمہیں گالی کوئی نہیں دے گا, یہ کوئی عقل والی بات تو نہیں ہے. اگر کوئی بتاتے حکومت کہ آپ 3 مہینے تک ٹرالر مافیا سمندری حیاتیات کی نسل کشی کرتا رہے, آپ برداشت کریں. کچھ چیزوں پہ تو ہم برداشت نہیں کریں گے, اور فوری طور پر عمل درآمد چاہیں گے. کچھ چیزوں پہ ہمارے مقدمات ہیں, اس پہ ہم وقت دیں گے, ختم کرے یا نہ کرے اس کا ہم کوئی ڈیمانڈ نہیں کریں گے. جیل میں ڈال دے, لیکن ڈالر مافیا, بارڈر مافیا, منشیات اور اس چیک پوسٹوں میں تذلیل یہ فوری طور پر ختم ہونی چاہیے.
Right, sir. Has the government reached out to you? Because yesterday we saw that the Prime Minister has also tweeted. Will the protest continue or will you have a rethink now?
دیکھیے ہمارا احتجاج اس کام کے لیے تو نہیں تھا کہ وزیر اعظم نوٹس لیں گے ہم دھرنا ختم کریں گے, کوئی سرکولر جاری کرے گا ہم ختم کریں گے. کوئی نوٹس لینے سے غریبوں کا پیٹ تو نہیں بھرے گا, کوئی نوٹس لینے سے میری عزت بڑھا تو نہیں ہوگا. نوٹس کے بعد میں دیکھوں گا, عوام دیکھے گی کہ نوٹس کے بعد ان ایشوز پر عمل درآمد ہوتا ہے یا نہیں ہوتا, اس کے بعد ہم فیصلہ کریں گے.
Do you think there is a nexus between the trawler mafia, as you say, and the administration?
بالکل 100% ہے. وزارت فشریز بلوچستان ٹرالر مافیا کی سرپرستی میں ملوث ہے, بطہ خوری میں ملوث ہے, لین دین میں ملوث ہے, اور اتنا یہ باثر ہے کہ وفاقی حکومت بھی ملوث ہے, صوبائی حکومت بھی ملوث ہے. 29 دن سے میں احتجاج کر رہے ہیں. جب وفاقی اور صوبائی حکومت ٹرالر مافیا کو بھگانے میں ناکام ہے تو اس سے لگتا یہ ہے کہ ٹرالر مافیا قوی اور بااثر لوگوں کا ہے.
Do you think Gwadar needs outside help, given that it's already so rich with different sets of resources?
دیکھیں ہمیں یہ تو وفاقی حکومت کا کام ہے کہ اس ملک سے مدد لیتا یا نہیں لیتا. ہمارا ذمہ دار تو ہمارے ملک کے حکمران ہیں, ہم اس ملک کے شہری ہیں. آئین پاکستان کے تحت ریاست کی ذمہ داری ہے میں انسانی بنیادی حقوق فراہم کریں. ہم اپنے حکومت سے مطالبہ کریں گے, باہر کسی ملک سے مطالبہ نہیں کریں گے. اور حکومت کی ذمہ داری ہے کہ ہمیں وہ سہولیات فراہم کرنا, کیسے فراہم کریں گے, کس طرح فراہم کریں گے, یہ ہماری حکومت کی ذمہ داری ہے, ہماری نہیں ہے.
It's almost been a month since this sit-in is ongoing. How have you been able to sustain this for this long? As in, what keeps you going?
یہ 70 سال کی پریشانیاں ہیں. لوگوں کے دلوں میں آگ لگی ہوئی ہے. لوگوں کے دلوں میں جو آگ ہے وہ آگ ان کو یہاں لا رہی ہے. یہ مرنے کے لیے تیار ہیں, لاشیں اٹھانے کے لیے تیار ہیں, یہ بالکل تیار ہیں. کسی صورت یہاں سے نہیں اٹھیں گے. اس لیے نہیں اٹھیں گے, یہ کہہ رہے ہیں کہ روزانہ تو ہم مر رہے ہیں, مرے تو ایک دفعہ ہی مر جائیں. تو اس لیے یہ وہی تڑپ ہے, وہی دکھ ہے, وہی آگ ہے جو اس ظالمانہ نظام نے جو ہمارے دلوں میں, بلوچستان کے لوگوں کے دلوں میں جو آگ لگائی ہے, وہ آگ ہے جو یہاں مجبور کر رہے ہیں کہ وہ گھر کے بجائے 1 مہینے ہو گئے. ہمارا احتجاج بڑھ ضرور رہا ہے, کم نہیں ہو رہا.
آپ نے آگ کا ذکر کیا, وہ آگ کے بارے میں آپ کی کیا رائے ہے کہ کیوں بلوچستان اور گوادر کو حکومتی سطح پر, چاہے وہ صوبائی سطح پر ہو یا وفاقی سطح پر ہو, نگلیکٹ کیا جاتا ہے؟ کیا وجہ ہے؟ آپ کیونکہ آپ نے اس آگ کا ذکر کیا اس لیے یہ سوال.
دیکھیں بلوچستان کے لوگوں کو, خصوصاً بلوچوں کو انسان سمجھنے کے لیے تیار نہیں ہے, ان کو پاکستانی شہری کے لیے تیار نہیں ہے. ہمیں شک کی نگاہ سے دیکھا جاتا ہے. ہمارا ایک نوجوان کو ایک لائک اگر بٹن میں کسی پوسٹ پہ لائک کر دے, اس کو لاپتہ کیا جاتا ہے. نہ پانی ہے, نہ بجلی ہے, نہ تعلیم ہے, نہ علاج ہے, نہ روزگار ہے, نہ امن ہے, اور نہ عزت ہے, نہ احترام ہے. سرمایہ ایک ٹولہ ہے جو اربپتی و کروڑپتی بن رہا ہے, اور غریب جو روزانہ غریب سے غریب تر ہوتا جا رہا ہے. ذرا مجھے بتائیے, جب غربت کا یہ عالم ہو, لوگ اپنے گردے بیچنے پہ مجبور ہوں, بچے بیچنے پہ مجبور ہوں, خودکشی کرنے پر مجبور ہو, وہاں لوگ تڑپ رہے ہو, مر رہے ہو, دلوں میں آگ لگی ہوئی ہو, تو اس میں لوگ کیا کریں؟ اب تک ہم پرامن جمہوری انداز میں کر رہے ہیں. تو ہمارے صوبائی اور وفاقی حکومت کے پاس وقت نہیں ہے کہ آ کر ہمیں گلے لگائے, ہماری بات سنے, ہمارے زخموں پہ نرم رکھے, हमारे आग दिलों में लोग से पानी डाल दें, वो अपने वजारतों के अय्याशियों में मसरूफ हैं। तो ये अगर उसी तरह रवैया रहा वफाकी हुकूमत का, सूबाई हुकूमत का, जो लावा आगे पटने वाला है, ये उसको बर्दाश्त नहीं कर सकेंगे।
Joining the protest are civil rights activists, fishermen, residents of Gwadar, including women and children, all pressing the government to act on their demands. When I visited the protest site, here's what the protesters had to say.
These protesters have been here for nearly a month. All they are asking for are basic amenities. Balochistan is one of the poorest provinces in Pakistan. It is rich in resources. But the people here are neglected. For years it has been experiencing a disappointing growth rate, widespread poverty and bad governance.
We've been here for the last 1 month. We demand justice for Gwadar residents. We're asking for doctors. There's no doctor here. We need to go to other cities for treatment. Sometimes people die on their way. There is no facility here. Gwadar is small, but it should be given some importance. We need more facilities. During summers, there is no electricity or water.
40% of people in Balochistan live in poverty. Literacy is 46%. Unemployment is 33%. 2/3 of the households do not have electricity or clean drinking water. These numbers are much below the national average.
The people of Balochistan are not getting their rights. Every 5 years, we have to come to the people who are not getting their rights. We need our basic necessities.
What about economic output? Balochistan's GDP is $8.3 billion. It is the only Pakistani province where GDP numbers have declined since 1999. Beijing is pouring in money and building infrastructure, but none of it for the people of Gwadar. They are not even getting any jobs. This is a kitchen where food is being made for the protesters. They say they will be here for a year if the protests continue for that long.
There are a lot of security checkpoints which are inconvenient to the people here. Many drugs are available in this area which also comes through this road. The youngsters are jobless, so they fall victim to these drugs.
70-year-old Masi Zaini with her group of volunteers has been cooking day and night, quite literally, for the sit-in participants, and she vows to do so even if the sit-in continues for the next 1 year. Anas Malik in Gwadar, Pakistan for WION World is One. Located in the Rocky Mountains of Balochistan, the Gwadar Cricket Stadium has a stunning aerial view. The lush green cricket field behind me has now become one of the talking points of the protests that has rocked the port city of Gwadar.
It is called the Senator Mohammad Ishaq Baloch Cricket Stadium and is dubbed as the world's most beautiful cricket stadium. Surrounded by the jagged mountains of Balochistan, the stadium is as picturesque as it can get. The Gwadar Stadium measures around 66 meters in diameter, which is too small for international games. They are usually held at venues that are between 137 meters and 150 meters long, but it is perfect for local and national level matches. Work on the stadium started in the year 1998. It has since been built by the military and local government. Grass to cover the venue and tons of soil for the pitch were brought to Gwadar from Punjab. The lush green stadium gained international attention when ICC shared its pictures on social media this year. People were mesmerized and wanted matches to be played here. But what do the people of Gwadar think? The stadium has become a viral sensation. But people here are prohibited to enter the stadium or even play in it. Many of the locals were even opposed to its construction.
The Gwadar Cricket Stadium, where I am standing, was inaugurated in 2020. The construction of this stadium began in 1998, and this stadium has become a talking point for the protesters, for they have been alleging that that the locals are not allowed entry into this very stadium, and also that their focus and emphasis is that they first need a university and not a cricket stadium in the port city of Gwadar. Anas Malik in Gwadar, Pakistan for WION World is One. Illegal fishing here by Chinese trawlers has been an issue for years. The issue had last flared up in February when dozens of Chinese vessels returning from Gwadar had docked at the port of Karachi, which had caused panic and resentment in the local fishing community. What do the fishermen here have to say about this trawler mafia?
The trawler mafia. That is the name given to Chinese fishing vessels by the people of Gwadar. Fishing is the main occupation in this port city, but it has been threatened by China's growing presence. China is using machines to catch fish. In the process, they are stealing the livelihood of the locals.
The nets that they use destroy the fishes and also affect our nets. During my parents' generation, there were no trawlers. The population of fish here was high. Now you look at the population of the fish, the trawlers have destroyed the fish population. They have destroyed the sea.
China even talked about investing in Pakistan's fishing sector. The declaration was worrying. The country's fishing community was already struggling, and more Chinese trawlers would mean fast depleting fish stocks.
Fishermen have been putting up their fishing nets like these, for their livelihood is dependent on the catches that they make from this very ocean or this very sea. But they complain that the trawlers are now responsible for taking away their livelihood. They say that the trawlers are involved in illegal fishing and that this activity by the trawlers should be stopped at the earliest.
According to a 2015 UN study, resources in Pakistan's marine fisheries are not being fished sustainably. Pakistan's marine resources were overfished. Dwindling resources signal an ongoing ecological disaster. Currently, Pakistan exports around $600 million worth of fish annually. About 3 million fisheries workers earn their livelihood from Sindh and Balochistan's coastline. Pakistan's fishing policy also does not help. The government created a deep-sea fishing policy in 2018 to regulate these issues. But it is viewed with skepticism both by the fishermen and the provincial governments. The 2018 policy on paper was created to manage the country's exclusive economic zone. The policy divided the sea into 3 zones. Under this, the federal government controlled the sea from 20 to 200 nautical miles, where local fishermen are not allowed to operate. But illegal fishing did continue here, with soaring demand for seafood in the mainland. China's interest in Pakistan's fishing industry is not going to go away. Trawler mafias are eating into local fishermen's livelihoods, but the destructive practices are also harming the marine ecosystem. The trawlers use large nets with heavy weights they drag along the floor of the ocean to collect everything in their path and wipe out the aquatic life in the process. Illegal deep-sea trawling in the country is an old phenomenon dating back to the 1970s. And with no checks and balances in place, they have caused considerable damage to the region's marine ecosystem.
The area behind me is known as Patisar. This is on the marine drive of Gwadar, and this area is used by fishermen, the local fishermen, in order to go out hunting and fishing. But these are the same areas which are now being taken over by trawlers, and the business for these fishermen has visibly taken a hit. They have been complaining and protesting against these trawlers, calling on the government to stop the illegal fishing acts as they describe it. Anas Malik in Gwadar, Pakistan for WION World is One. The protest in Gwadar is growing every day. WION continues to bring you all the updates from ground zero here in Gwadar. As the world continues to ignore the plight, we are here to report all the truth of the Gwadar crisis. This is Anas Malik reporting from Gwadar, Pakistan for WION World is One.